a walking vlog. So I do these for two reasons. On nights like this, it gives me the time to talk about subjects that I may not have time to talk about in the morning, just due to the fact that I'm, either live streaming or doing some other things around the house, just to prep for other events or video games that's coming up. That's my focus when I get home, because I only have so much time to do these things. I have to make time for these, and two, it kind of helps me pass the time to, as I'm walking to work. It gives me something to do, so it kind of kills two birds with one stone. Let me say this before we get into the topic. I don't turn a blind eye to anything, even if it's subtle. One thing about myself and anybody who's gotten to know me over these years, that when I speak on subjects like this, I speak from the heart. And I don't want my words to get misconstrued or misunderstood due to the fact that somebody took the words out of context. Whatever the hell that was. But I don't want nobody to take these words out of context. Because my intentions are to educate and to open the eyes of people that's listening to me. Being somebody that's been, living on this planet for 30 years, going on 31, I've seen my fair share of bullshit. And that's putting it mildly. I've seen my fair share of bullshit. And I've seen things that people before me should have spoken on, but didn't speak on, or rather, it wasn't enough of them speaking on it to make any type of impact. But they left enough breadcrumbs, those forefathers and the foremothers that did care to either do something or speak on those topics. They they left enough breadcrumbs and evidence that they gave a damn enough to show examples of what to do and what not to do in situations like this. So let me just say this. It comes a time where we just can't accept help from certain people. This is a life fact, but before we even get to the climate and the way things still are with the protests over George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the countless other people black people that's been killed by police, and the countless other brown people that goes unnoticed, that's been killed by police brutality when there was no call for the police to do anything, people being shot in the back. And I know people are tired of hearing about it, but like somebody said, like, if you're tired of hearing about it, imagine how exhausting it is actually having to live with that. And not only live with it, but you trying to tell people this is going on and nobody's listening to you. And then it gets to the point where the whole world has to stop just for them to pay attention. I can guarantee you, if sports was going on in this world, I guarantee you these protests would not be happening. If the coronavirus outbreak didn't happen, I guarantee you these protests would not be in this outrage that they're having, and all these companies that are claiming that they support us and all this shit. I guarantee you they would not be telling you that Black Lives Matter and joining in on these campaigns and donating money to these organizations that I have a hard time trusting, especially if they're a non-profit organization. Because, I mean, I'm gonna put it to you like this. The epitome of non-profit organizations, at least from what I've seen, has always been, you know, breast cancer awareness. You know, the countless non-profit organizations out there that they had. I can't remember what or who put that post out. I think it happened like 5-6 years ago, where they had like a list of the top non-profit organizations for like breast cancer, and like Susan G. Komen was on it. I think Red Cross was on it as well. I don't know if it was Red Cross, but I know Susan G. Komen was one of them. You know, she's that company, Susan G. Komen, is like the top non-profit breast cancer company out there, or rather, it's the most advertised one. Every October, you know what I'm saying, donate to breast cancer awareness. You know what I mean? Like, they never say, they say more breast cancer awareness, like donate to breast cancer awareness, and less donate to find a cure for breast cancer. They say that less than they do donate to breast cancer awareness. And I feel like it's a reason for that. Because again, going back to that non-profit list that came out. And I think you guys can look it up. Just Google like the top non-profits and how they spend money or something like that. I don't know how to look it up. But look up top non-profit organizations and how much money was donated to them versus how much money they actually spent for the cause that they advertising. And Susan G. Komen was like one of the top offenders of that. Because, you know, a lot of people, including myself, don't like donating to like Susan G. Komen. I don't, you know, and because it was always something fishy about this whole donate to find a cure for cancer and all this shit. You know what I mean? When you had people like Dr. Sebi, you know, may his soul continue to rest. May God rest his soul. He been exploited that when we started taking on, you know, a certain diet, we also took on certain diseases as well. The body, he always promoted the body as a self-healing organism, in which it is. I mean, in every aspect, your body is a self-healing organism. Like, if you break a leg, you know, your leg's gonna heal back. If you get cut, you know, the blood coagulates and it creates basically its own Band-Aid. You know what I mean? To heal it, to help heal the internal injury. You know, if you're sick, you know, your body tries to get rid of the illness in any way it can. Either it tries to push it through the skin in the form of a rash or what have you, or or like you'll vomit. You know, it's going to get, or you either defecate or, in other words, take a poop. In more modern days, they say take a shit, or you know what I mean. Like they'll find, your body will find ways to heal itself, even if it goes into like a danger zone, such as you know, high blood pressure or raising up the body heat so much that you end up getting a fever. You know, your body's trying to get rid of an illness. It's a self-healing organism. So that being the case, all right, sorry about that. Had to cross the street there for a minute, and that loud motorcycle was kind of getting over my voice, but it was overshadowing my voice. But yeah, the body is a self-healing organism, so your body will heal itself. Now, of course, this all plays into what your diet has to be to help your body heal faster and more properly. Because if you don't eat the right things, and eat the right foods, your body can remain in what's called an acidic state. In an acidic state. Excuse me. Your body has two states it can be in. It can be in acidic state or it can be in an alkaline state. And the more foods that you consume that has those alkaline properties in it, the less prone you are to being sick, and the more prone you are to getting healthy. So living a healthier lifestyle. Of course, exercise is always important because the body needs to move around. It doesn't mean to stay still. But the point I'm trying to make here is that I don't really trust some of these organizations out there, even the ones that claim that they're doing it for our behalf, black people. They're doing it on our behalf. Because it's always some bullshit. And maybe these organizations that I'm thinking about, like the Innocence Project, those guys, they seem to be doing good work. I think they even had like a Netflix movie based on around, I think the New York 5, I believe, the Central Park 5. They actually made a movie about that. And I believe the Innocence Project was the one that got those 5 guys off. The Central Park 5. You probably heard about these guys. These are guys that spent many years in jail for a falsely accused rape accusation. Found out there was no evidence to actually put these guys behind bars because they weren't active in the rape. They wasn't even around. I think one guy was at the park when it was going on, but he didn't know that it happened around the time it did. It's just that the police came and rounded up those 5 guys, accused them, and just left them in jail. Because you got to understand, back in the 90s, things weren't being put on display as they are now as far as systematic racism and being able to record these racist encounters and by police. It wasn't like that back in the 90s. And anytime you would have any type of media, they would always try to cover up the bullshit in order to keep the good relations public, in order to keep good relations with the public, or they try to control the narrative, as they say. They don't put the truth out there. They put out there what they want you to see. So even if a cop is sitting there beating up an innocent black man, right, they don't put that part out. So they just put out the part where it says this guy was accused, and they just leave it at that. So they don't tell you that the police just beat this man for nothing. And that was happening a lot back in the 90s. But not to get too far off, the original purpose of this video was to say that I can't really accept help from a lot of people. That was everything else was just an analogy to kind of fit into that main point. And unfortunately, this goes for people who feel like they are doing the right thing when it comes to helping black people and protesting with us and things like that, whether people outside of the black community and, you know, the brown community as well, the Mexican community, the Latino community, we can't accept help from anybody outside that world. And I only say that because even when the intentions are pure or they come off as pure or genuine, like people actually want to help, the best analogy I can give, well, first off, let me say this. Even if your intentions are good, you still don't know what the hell you're doing. And you could be causing more harm than good. I understand if some of y'all genuinely may want to help and just, you know, I said in a previous video, you want to help us, use your white privilege. You know, first off, acknowledge that your white privilege exists. Acknowledge that police officers don't attack you the way they attack black people and Mexicans and Latinos in this country, because they really don't. There's been more videos, and this is why I'm so happy that the videos came out, because there's been more videos that have surfaced over the past 10 years of white people literally walking around police officers with fucking AR-15s and literally aiming them at police. Dylan Roof went in a damn church in South Carolina and fucking shot 9 black people, and they took his ass to fucking Burger King. Like, what, that type of shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the most ridiculous shit that you can think of. And if you replace those white people with black people in those situations, you know, they would have got killed, you know what I'm saying, as soon as the cops arrived. Because black people have been killed for less. Literally. A guy, I think his name was Terrence Crutcher. His car had stalled, you know, look up his name, Terrence Crutcher. I believe that was his name. I could be wrong, but I do believe that was his name. His car stalled in the middle of the highway, I believe. In the middle of the road, his car stalled, called 911 for help. The police showed up. The guy had his hands in the air, and I guess they told him to walk towards his car. And when he did that, they shot the man. I believe they shot him in his head. But he was walking back to the car, and they just shot him. Like, hands in the air. He called them for help, and they just shot the man. You know, this little bullshit like that. Oscar Grant getting shot in the back at the Fruitvale station. You know what I'm saying? Just too many of those things. You don't hear this happening with white people. And let me talk about this as well. Black on black crime is a fucking myth. And I know they're gonna talk about, oh, well, black people kill other black people. Well, shit. You notice that anytime they want to use a barometer for how dangerous black people are, and this goes to show you why black on black crime is a myth right here, they always try to pick the worst city, the worst inner city in America. And the first thing they say is they mention is Chicago, because Chicago is like, you know, it has a limelight on it that wasn't on it before. Like when you look at Chicago, right? Let's say in the 80s and the 90s, let's say Chicago, and I'm just doing this to give a perspective. I'm using this as an example. It's not true, but I'm just using it as an example. You know, you would have to go look up what the actual numbers were yourself, but I'm just putting this in perspective with you. You know, the people in that community, they're used to living in that community. They're used to it being as dangerous as it is, right? Chicago, back in the 80s and 90s, you could say they probably was having like 2,500 gang homicides a year, right? You could say they probably had 2,500 homicides, gang-related homicides in a year, you know, back in the 80s and the 90s, because that's when those gangs were most active, you know. But when you look at it today, the amount of deaths probably went down to like 200 a year. Now, to the rest of the world who hasn't seen anything like that, we like, oh, that's terrible. To the people that's been living in that community, that's an upgrade. It's sad that the people still dying at that rate, but you know, that's an improvement. We went from 2,500 deaths a year to 200. Things are improving. You know what I mean? And that's not just because people are getting locked up. Despite, again, one of those media lies. You know, we need the police to lock these bad guys up. A lot of those OGs and big homies um, have been released from prison, and they have say so over the little homies that's out there right now that are the most active. Because the old heads, the old heads as they call them, the older guys, the big homies, the OGs, they seen all the bullshit and they grown out of that ignorant state of mind. So now they have the say so and the attention of the young people that's out there doing the murders and committing these criminal acts. They have say so over them, so they can make a phone call. So let's say there's two rival gangs, right? The OGs probably went to school together, and they probably the OGs from each of those rival gangs probably went to school together, probably spent the night at each other's house playing Nintendo, Sega Genesis when they was kids. But when the gangs started coming in, and things started taking a ride because Ronald Reagan brought in drugs and under his administration, and and gunplay and all that other nonsense started to pick up because of that. Because a fun fact, a lot of the gangs in Chicago actually started as political movements to get people to register for vote, and they started after school programs and things like that. Look up the conservative vice lords and gangs such as that. They really went there. Look up LSD, Lords, Stone Disciples. Look up LSD. They those are three gangs that are pretty much rivals that stuck together, to help impact the community in a positive way. And this is during the 90s when the shit was really going down. So look that up. But yeah, when you look at the numbers, the people in that community are looking at that as a positive change. And the OGs can have say so. They can make phone calls because of how active they were at one point. They probably developed a mutual respect for each other. So they could probably stop a lot of the bullshit that's happening on between the older homies. Those are the ones that's really responsible for a lot of things not going down. Now, of course, you're going to always have some knuckleheads that's going to go against what the big homies say, and they got to suffer disciplines for that. In the hood, like we call them DPs. Not double penetration, because I know some of y'all porno freaks, but DP in the hood means discipline. You know what I mean? That's what that means. That means you're going to get punishment from going against what the big homies say are going against the rules of the gang. You know what I mean? Some of those gangs have rules out there like you can't do hard drugs, you can't do coke, you can't do heroin. Anything outside of weed, pretty much, you're not allowed to take those things on. Otherwise, you're going to get DP. Like you can't rape women, you can't do none of that. You know what I mean? Because you don't really hear about Chicago gangs getting involved in none of that shit. Like pimping and disrespecting women like that. Raping them, and you know what I mean? You don't hear about that happening in Chicago. A lot of those gangs, they really do have, because again, they held on to those principles of the past, and that's one thing I can admire about Chicago gangs, more so than any other gang anywhere else. I mean, it's always looked down, but they never, it's looked down in other places, but it's never really held down to the standard of where other gangs were. So let me just say, I don't have any positive feelings about other people outside the black community and brown community helping us, because even though it's genuine, it always comes off wrong. Like they don't know what they're doing, even though if they really want to help. The best way I can explain it, and the best analogy I can give before I head off, is imagine you playing a video game, right? And you're playing a game with a noob, like a newbie as we call them, but we call them noobs. People who, not N-O-O-B, but N-E-W-B-I-E. People who don't have any experience in dealing with these things properly. So even though your intentions may be good, you may want to help, but you don't have the experience to actually be effective. You have to be helpful in other ways. You know what I mean? So if we're going on a mission, and with us going on that mission, we end up doing, say, like, when there's like other people in the party, this guy's level 99, everybody else is level 99, but they got that one person that wants to help, and he's like level like 20. He's not very helpful in that situation. That's basically one of the best analogies I can give. So that being said, man, thank you guys for watching me, listening to me. I have more things on the way. Got a t-shirt promo coming, a clothing promo coming for World Warriors Collective. Keep a lookout for that. Before the end of the week, I should have it up. I'm going to get back to doing reactions because I've been slacking on a lot of content due to the fact that I've been dealing with so much bullshit at work and this pandemic and everything else. I'm trying to get certain games finished so I can have time to do these things. And you know what I mean? I don't know, like, and I've been sick. I'm still sick, but I'm trying, man. Like, so just work with me. So be patient with me. Things are gonna get back to where they need to be. Yeah. So that being said, man, thank you guys for staying with me. Remember, you guys stand in truth. You won't have to ever worry about being in the world of lies. Stand in truth, and you'll never have to stand with lies. Your truth doesn't exist because it always implies that the truth is always on your side, and that's a falsehood. That is a lie in itself. Stand with the truth, and you'll never be wrong. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Peace. Remember, be humble in victory, gracious in defeat, but show no mercy in battle. World Warriors Collective. Deuces.